Hello everyone, ex-Wallkill Bethelite here. And I wanted to make a video because a lot of times people who are newly out of the Jehovah's Witnesses don't know what to expect when they leave. And part of what we have to understand is that Jehovah's Witnesses are pretty much taught and raised and socially conditioned to focus all their attention pretty much in that group. That they've got to be a part of just Jehovah's Witnesses. You can't really go out and play basketball. That's taken away from the one group that you're supposed to be focused on. You're not really supposed to go to college in regards to like a career that could take a lot of college education. They just want you to focus primarily on this one group here. And if you spend years and years and years in an environment where you're not really supposed to go anywhere else but just this one place, where you get accustomed to it, right? So what then happens if a person who is accustomed to that type of lifestyle, where they're focused amongst one group of people, and they believe, Jehovah's Witnesses typically believe, that their fellow Jehovah's Witness is a good person. Partially because, A, it's a religion, so it is assumed that everybody's trying to be a good person, and because they have this false teaching, disfellowshipping, and the concept with disfellowshipping is that if a Jehovah's Witness, basically all it is a Jehovah's Witness being told they got to take a break from commenting and giving talks and fellowshipping with that group for 6 months to a year. And after that 6 months to a year, they believe that they have been purified, that this person is now a good person and they don't have the problems anymore, which is not true. But the person follows along with the song and dance if they don't want to get DF'd again, right? So it's basically all you guys make pretend to be good people and make pretend to all be focused on your spirituality or else. So you have an environment there where people are make pretending to not be who they really are, right? Because if disfellowshipping purified a person of sin or made them better after the fact, then you would not have people who have been reproved multiple times. You wouldn't have people that have been disfellowshipped multiple times. If the disfellowshipping worked, they wouldn't have had to done it 2, 3, 4 times, right? So telling a Jehovah's Witness, well, you got to take a break from this group and from commenting and giving talks, well, if that purified people, they would not have people that have been disfellowshipped and reproved more than once. It doesn't. All it does is teach people to essentially make pretend that they're all alike. Make pretend that they don't have the same problems as any other group. They all have the same watchtower study on a Sunday. So that makes everybody make pretend that they all have something in common. The watchtower that y'all talked about that day. This is an illusion. These people don't all get along. Most of the time, Jehovah's Witnesses outside of their religion, as far as service and door-to-door knocking and religious services, they don't even spend a whole lot of time together. These people aren't all a bunch of people that are just happy and jolly and get along. A lot of these people's families don't even spend a lot of time together. Or if they do, they pick and choose which relative they want to spend time with. These people are actually very splintered and very divided. They're just under the pretense of being unified and being like-minded, so that they don't get disfellowshipped. It's make pretend, people. It's make pretend. Jehovah's Witnesses are not all unified. So the thing is, though, is that we're coming from a group where we have the concept that groups are, that a group is supposed to be unified and everybody's got things in common, everybody gets along. This is the concept. So once we leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, and this is again something that I would have loved someone to have told me when I was just leaving, we still have the concept sometimes in our mind that a group of people that are considered a community because they have things in common, or a group of people under a name or of some title or some type, all get along, all have things in common, and are all unified, and that they don't have problems. This doesn't exist. This doesn't exist, but as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were lied to and told, yeah, that's what Jehovah's Witnesses were. So when we leave the cult, we're looking for something else similar because we think that's what we're supposed to be looking for. That's what we were taught existed. It doesn't. Joe Rogan, have you guys heard of Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan is recently made a video apologizing for using the N-word and saying things that are blatantly, obviously inappropriate. Right? There's certain things that it's common knowledge that people do not like, such as someone who is white using the N-word and going to a location where there's a lot of black people and saying that something to the effect of being in the jungle or we're in Planet of the Apes or something to that effect. They're aware that they're saying something that the people wouldn't like. Otherwise, he wouldn't be apologizing for it, and they wouldn't try to hide it. So the thing is, though, is people sometimes, if a person is visible, people sometimes just think, well, this person is visible because they're an upstanding citizen, that they have their life together, because the only thing that you see oftentimes of Joe Rogan is what you see on the camera. And it's the same with a lot of people who are in front of a camera or who stand out as leaders in a group of people. It's assumed that they are outstanding citizens and that they have their life together and their morals together. But it's not true, because we see all the time, there was the issues with Bill Cosby. Recently you got Joe Rogan. You got people that don't get along because as black as Candace Owens is, she's got views that a lot of black people don't have. The concept that everybody is going to be outstanding citizens and that people are going to get along and have similar views isn't true. Jehovah's Witnesses lied. This concept that they're just all in a paradise full of good people is not true. I know Jehovah's Witnesses that have been divorced however many times. How in the world does that happen if y'all are all upstanding people, right? If you guys all get along. Well, how in the world does a group of people that all get along, why are they getting divorced just like everyone else? Because they're like everyone else. Right? So the concepts that we were brought up around are incorrect. And sometimes what we're looking for, when we're looking for a group similar to Jehovah's Witnesses, we're looking for something that don't exist. So when I was just becoming a former Jehovah's Witness, just leaving the group, I would hear things about the XJW community, about this shouldn't be happening and that shouldn't be happening, and this person did this and that person did that, and or you would hear about a person being ex-Jehovah's Witness, but they are like a let me get a sip of this delicious Sunkist here. They're a sexual pervert. So you hear about somebody who's an XJW and they're a sexual pervert, and it blows people's minds. How can somebody be a XJW and they be a pervert or a pedo or something to that effect? And I think some of that concept of how can this be happening, there's something wrong if it does happen in a group, because a group is supposed to be all like-minded, all unified, and essentially not have any kind of weird people in it. That thought is wrong. That thought is wrong. So as if a person, you don't even have to be a new XJW. You can just be an XJW that hears there's problems with the community. There's problems with the community. I'm not saying that there aren't. I'm just saying that that's normal. That's every group, especially a group that has the concept that we need to fellowship primarily amongst one another. We need to focus a lot of our attention primarily just on our work, which is exposing the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. And we've spent a whole lot of time just in our circles. Well, you're definitely going to run into people who you don't get along with. You're going to run into people who are bullies. You're going to run into people who ain't got a lick of morals. You're going to run into people who like to manipulate others. You're going to run into people that just say random things that don't make any sense. You're going to run into people who are intellectually nowhere near on the same plane. You're going to run into perverts, especially online, right? There's no such thing as a person who has nice, let's say people who make XJW videos. Well, just because a person has got really nice camera equipment and makes nice videos, that don't look at Joe Rogan. That don't mean that they're an upstanding member of society, right? Whoever has the nicest camera equipment and puts Vaseline on their face so their face is nice and shiny and shaves their eyebrows so that they're, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean, this does not mean that this person ain't no pervert. You know what I mean? So what people say is wrong is somewhat wrong because we were raised to believe and conditioned to believe that we are to belong to a group, and that one group is like-minded, everybody gets along, and everybody is focused on task, right? Nobody's trying to, use money for things that are maybe not appropriate or something to that effect. But that group doesn't exist. If a person left the XJW community and went into another one that's very active and around each other a lot, oh my goodness, you're going to see the same stuff. I joined a group on Facebook. And you want to talk about infighting. This group was what I liked about this group is it was extremely active, right? Every other hour on this Facebook group, there was something major going on. There was a bunch of people, and I'm African American. I'm black, so this was a primarily black group, right? So I felt like I was among people who would have similarities, right? Because we're all black. It was a group where we were pretty much all speaking out about the different problems, different issues that we face. And when I say there were people getting kicked out of that group daily, there were people, do you know how many arguments I had with people on that group? There were people on that group that did not have a semblance of moral fiber. And the people who did not have a semblance of moral fiber, who went out sleeping with any and everybody in the world, could not figure out why there was a problem with pregnancy. I'm trying to explain to these people. I mean, not these people. Let me not speak like I'm better than anybody else. There were those of us in the group that were all trying to help each other with our problems. We all had problems that we wanted help with, and we wanted to discuss as a community. Don't let me say them people. You know what I mean? Because that makes it sound like I feel better than them, and I don't. I just didn't get along with them. But there were honestly people who they would date a woman or a man who most of us could tell within 15 minutes that this is not marriage material. They probably ain't even dating material. And then they wouldn't be able to figure out why these relationships weren't working. And we're trying to explain to them, well, you might want to try to find somebody that is at least somewhat mature. You know what I mean? We're trying to talk, and it was arguments. I was getting into arguments with people there daily. There was drama daily on that group. And me being a former Jehovah's Witness, I spent a lot of time just in that group. And then that becomes a problem too. So I spent too much time around a lot of those people and ended up getting into it with enough of them where I'm just not, I'm not on that group anymore. Right? But I wasn't sitting there saying that there's something wrong with the black community because we've got this group here and we got people that don't get along. Or we had people in there that were saying things to try to sound popular so that they can get women. Or we had people that were trying to the GoFundMes to make money. Anything and everything that a person thinks is going on in the XJW community that they think makes it have problems is going on in other communities. That one of the things are that the difference, I would say, is that people who are not former Jehovah's Witnesses don't think that they need to focus on one community, right? So that when something does happen, they're like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with this community. They don't even think like that. They're a part of 50 different communities, right? They're a part of 50 different groups. So if something, they don't believe that they need to be a part of just one, and this just one community needs to all be in unison and all be, and if not, then there's something wrong and we got to fix it. I don't think that people have that concept, right? So with Joe Rogan, I don't think there's a lot of people that feel like, oh my goodness, who am I going to listen to now, and what am I going to do? And no, they don't have to watch Joe Rogan's podcast. You find out that he's been saying things that are very inappropriate, obviously inappropriate. They don't feel like, well, I'm part of his group. I have to focus on that. They don't. It's on to the next YouTuber. Next up, next YouTuber. You know what I mean? I got so many different people that I listen to on YouTube that when I heard Joe Rogan do that, it wasn't an issue. I just next. You know what I mean? I'm listening to the next YouTuber. He's not what I thought he was. Not the end of the world. Not a problem in the UFC community or whatever community you would say that he's a part of. It's just normal. Same with other YouTubers. There's other YouTubers that I would listen to, and then I would find out later that they were doing things or involved with things that are way below any standard that I would want to be associated with. And it wasn't like, okay, well, there's a problem in this community. No, it's just they next. You know what I mean? I don't have to get along with them. I don't have to listen to them. I don't have to be in unity with them. Next. Unsubscribe. Next. Right? And sometimes with the XJW community, I think that there's this concept where we are dedicated. We are devoted to the cause because we're the most active activists online that I'm aware of. But the concept that everybody's going to be in unity, that was part of our social conditioning, I think, growing up. Because all XJWs, people in XJW, they ain't even all former Jehovah's Witnesses. There's people that ain't even been a Jehovah's Witness that will not only be a part of XJW community, but they'll make videos about Jehovah's Witnesses. They ain't even been one. Or at least they wasn't baptized. They may have just known one, or you know what I mean? So you gotta understand a group, one problem with a group where everybody thinks they have to stick with this group, and they can't branch out and be a part of a number of groups where if there's an issue here, next Facebook group, there's an issue there, I don't like it, next Facebook group, ain't the end of the world, next. You know what I mean? There's plenty of groups. You don't have to spend all your time with one. So what happens if a person does not have this understanding of life in general is, they end up upset with this group thinking this is a community with problems, which there are problems, and there's a problem in every one of them, though. Any community. Find a community with no problems and let me know. Please put the name of the community down in the comments so I can join it. I would love to join a community and everybody gets along and everybody's unified and you could trust everybody. and there ain't a whole bunch of people sleeping around on their wives and all this other stuff, I'll join it tomorrow. Now, it doesn't mean it's right. Just because there probably isn't a community where these things don't happen, it doesn't mean it's right. Because Joe Rogan said what he said, so I'm probably not going to be listening to him for a while. There's other YouTubers, I hear him say something. Like Candace Owens, I remember when George Floyd got killed, and she was thinking, well, you know what I mean? If you write bad checks, you should be killed, or something to that effect. Or people shouldn't care if you're killed. You know what I mean? Like writing bad checks and murder are somewhere around the same as far as wrongness. You know what I mean? Well, he wrote bad checks, so they murdered him, so it cancels each other out. No, one's way worse than another. As soon as I heard her say, next, there wasn't a problem with the big forehead community, or I'm sorry, the whatever community she's a part of. It was just next person, next. So I think that's what I needed to know when I first joined the XJW community, which is the next logical step to being a Jehovah's Witness. And I would hear, oh, there's a problem with this person, there's a problem with that person. Oh, I don't like being a part of that group because, you know, they do this and they do. It's not a they, it's a whole bunch of individuals. You know what I mean? And you're going to have that same problem everywhere. The only difference, though, is the exclusiveness. People don't believe they have to focus all their attention on any of these other groups exclusively, right? Outside of religion. And there's problems with people, you know, in religion, but unlike Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of these other religions, people got to go through seminary. People got to go through all kind of college courses, right? They don't just make a person an elder just because they've been there a while. They have to go through education, levels of education higher than your average person. So yeah, they're going to have higher expectations. Jehovah's Witnesses have higher expectations for elders, and the elder ain't been through nothing other than the same meetings all of us all had been through, and meetings where they sit down together with each other. You know what I mean? And they got a book, which a lot of us have got access to. None of this stuff makes them smarter or better than or anything. You know what I mean? It's the congregation I used to be a part of. Them brothers was so illiterate and everything else. If you was a Jehovah's Witness in that congregation and you could read, and you just been there for a while, yeah, you're going to be an elder. Because it was just a whole bunch of ignorant, you know what I mean? And it's not to, again, sound better than everybody, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It does exist. So comment down below, you know, let me know what you think. Because I've got relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses and been, you know, done been through multiple wives. You know what I mean? So this concept that there is a group where all these people get along isn't true. I mean, you pick one person who's a Jehovah's Witness to specifically get along with, your husband or your wife, and that don't even work. Well, that means just being a part of a group don't mean that everybody's gonna get along. And yeah, having nice camera equipment don't mean you're gonna be an upstanding member of society. So 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. But yeah, people who are fresh out, they do need to branch out and be part of other groups of other things that they have interests in. And then that way they'll be more exposed to society, more exposed to what it's like socially. And they understand everybody's not going to get along. Everybody don't got to be best buddies. There ain't no specific YouTube channel you have to support. You can go to the next one. It'll be okay. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.